only find at airports within the beginning you hit here, the GPS.
On the GPS.
Because if you're flying here, there's airports everywhere. Every 5-10 miles you got an airport.
You got ISIL, you got JFK.
Yeah, or you got at least a field or somewhere you can fly to.
Right. Alright.
During flight, you begin to see a gradual decrease in power. What is the likely cause, and what should be done to remedy the situation?
Like a carburetor thing, no?
Would be a carburetor, right? What would you do? Carburetor heat on.
That's it, that's the only thing?
No, it could be other stuff. What if one of the mags run, rough? You may have some partial power loss. You may want to shut that mag off. It's only 2% difference with one mag compared to two mags now.
What is the mag? Mag is the cylinder?
Mag is what's producing spark.
The cylinder spark.
Cylinder spark. You get spark in the spark plug from the mag. You got two mags. If one go down, you still have spark.
98% spark.
98%. You're losing only 2% power. Because every cylinder has two spark plugs.
Every cylinder has two spark plugs.
And there's four cylinders. So we got 8 spark plugs. Every mag goes to 4 spark plugs. You got 2 mags. So if one mag goes bad, you still have
The other four.
4.
Well, 50%, not 50%.
You think it's 50%, but you're only losing 2% because on the same cylinder, you have 2 spark plugs. If all the spark plugs on all 4 cylinders, half of them go bad on the same cylinder, you will still have 98% power.
Well, the safety
They're done with
goes,
it.
it doesn't the other one.
Correct.
Continue to work, it doesn't do 5
They're done with
way.
it. Unlike a car, when you have one spark plug per cylinder, if that spark plug gets fouled up, your cylinder's shot. You're not going to get power out of that cylinder.
So let me ask you a question. If I get, I still lose the power, I lose power more than 2%, obviously. That's the 2% I don't know if I realize. You realize 2%? That's power loss?
I wouldn't. You probably wouldn't.
So why would I want to shut the mag?
Because if one mag is out of sync and it's
It'll
firing,
screw up everything.
it will mess the whole engine. But if you shut that mag off, the mag that's good may still fire at 98% power. So let's assume it's out of sync and it's firing in the wrong spot. It's going to mess up the engine.
So how do you figure out which one?
Drop one down, still running rough. Bring it back up. Drop the other one down. All of a sudden, it just wakes up. So you know one of the mags is down. That's another good reason why you have a partial power loss. Mag.
Well,
What could be another reason for a decrease in power? It happened to me in the wintertime.
in the wintertime? You said ice.
Ice. We're ice. I swear.
Wing?
Wing or
Oh.
in the carb, yeah, right into the carb. What is that?
So what?
Fuel line. Gas tank. Got some water frozen, below freezing. It happens all the time here in the winter because you go below freezing. So you get iced up, and then the fuel flow decreases. You can't get as much fuel flow.
Don't you have to check the water?
You check it, but for whatever reason, there's still a drop of water there and just got freeze up. It happened to me once when we lost some power, so we came back and we were right back. I mean, you add power and you're not getting the RPM you're expecting. That's cruise. It's supposed to get 2,500 RPM on a 172, but we were getting like 2,200, and you can feel boom, 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 and you feel like it's not running right. Call out, come back for a landing, call the mechanic, investigate. Don't keep flying like that.
So ice.
Right?
Fuel line.
What about bad gas? Could be bad
Same
gas.
thing.
Mhm.
You will feel the
What about Jet A gas? Jet A, they put Jet A gas,
okay.
jet engine gas in the water. It's gonna run though. It's gonna run though.
But it's gonna run.
It's gonna run, but, you know, it depends on how much gas they put in it. So every time you're fueling the airplane, make sure it's Afghan, 100 LL on the truck, and drain the fuel, make sure it's the correct color. It's supposed to be blue. Any other reason you can see for a gradual decrease in power? Nothing else. Do we have a mixture on this airplane? Mixture control? No. Maybe you're running it too lean, you lose power, running it too rich. It doesn't have mixture control. So pretty much from about 0 to 6,000 feet, you're expecting, you know, the mixture to work properly. Above 6,000 feet is going to start running rich. And it happened to me flying at 9,500 feet with no mixture control. I would actually throttle back and get more RPM. I was doing like 2,000 RPM with full power, but then I would throttle back, the RPM would actually start going up to 21. I guess you're leaning, by throttling back, you're leaning the mixture a little bit, it's running more smooth.
Yeah, my ability got a
Yeah, of course. I mean, you saw it when we took off out of Orlando. We, you know, every 1,000 feet, you see the fuel flow. I kept on leaning. During engine run-up, you cause rocks, debris, and propeller blasts to be directed toward another aircraft or person. Could this be considered careless or reckless operation of an aircraft? Why or why not?
I'm sure it is.
It is reckless. Absolutely.
I don't know why though.
I bet if you hit it.
Yeah, always at fault.
I mean, this is a little tiny propeller airplane. What if it's a jet and you're the propeller airplane right behind that airplane that's going to create, you know, debris and jet blasts to cause rocks and stuff, you know, going in the back of the airplane. I mean, we may even flip the small aircraft. You know. So always when you do a run-up, look behind you, make sure nobody's behind, so you're not causing any hazard or harm to anybody.
Just behind.
Yeah, check behind you when you're on there. And if you do that, it's reckless because you just created hazard to another aircraft or vehicle or a person. Somebody's on a ramp and you're running up on the ramp and somebody's working the airplane and then you just took a wheel shock or something, you know, fly right into the guy. Of course it's reckless. You're going to be responsible for that. And we talked about who's the pilot in command, who's responsible? You, when you go solo. VFR cruising altitude. When you go solo, what altitude should you use when operating VFR in level cruising flight at more than 3,000 feet AGL?
I don't understand the question.
You're cruising over 3,000 feet.
Over 3,000, okay?
I don't know, 4,500, 5,500, you're way up there. Is there any cruising altitudes you need to pick depending on northeast, your direction of flight?
So you go more than 500, less than 500 to go south and northeast?
It's in the regulations.
Odd numbers, bodies, even numbers, you know, 3,500.
Yeah. You're getting close. Odd plus 500 for what direction?
East, odd.
They say 0 to 179 is odd plus 500.
0 to 179, I almost said 800.
Correct. From north to the south. From the south to the north, which is generally heading westbound, from 180 to 359 is even.
Plus 500. What does that mean, odd plus 500?
Odd is 3,000, 5,000, 7,000, 9,000,
Gotcha.
11,000. So 11,500, 9,500.
Oh, that's you don't,
You don't hit IFR traffic or traffic that's heading eastbound where you're heading westbound at the same altitude.
so we say,
Again, my general rule is 300 above, 700 above, so in case there's another guy overtaking, you got a little bit of push. But the
300
regulation
above what?
says plus 500.
Gotcha. So 1 to 179,
0 to 179
0 to
is
179.
odd plus 500. And even plus 500 is 180 to 359. Any questions?
We gotta know this.
Yeah, of course. When you're cruising.
So technically, if you're going around, you gotta climb up 500?
Yeah, if you're making a 180, you gotta drop technically in the cruise. Technically, you gotta go back 1,000 or climb up another 1,000.
This would be north to south.
It's actually 91,159 for your record. Specified altitude are required for VFR cruising flight are more than 3,000 ATL and below 18,000 MSL. Why is it below 18,000 MSL? When we operate VFR there? Very good. Altitude described in the magnetic course, magnetic heading, blah, blah, blah. Use an odd thousandths with MSL plus 500 magnetic course of 0 to 179. Actually, put it in. Magnetic course, that's how they define. 0 to 179 magnetic course. And 180 to 359 magnetic course, you'll use even plus 500. Any questions? What is the emergency frequency?
1215.
1215. Remember on the cross-country flight from Florida, we had a Delta guy, everybody was monitoring 121.5 because he wasn't responding.
121.15?
121.50.
That's emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And so was on?
Yeah, well, it's an ELP frequency, and it's an emergency frequency. 121.5. Emergency. Declare an emergency. That's a frequency for declaring an emergency. Most of the air traffic control centers will actually monitor this frequency. Some of the traffic cruising, they have 2 radios. I remember in the airlines, we used to monitor 21.5 just in case somebody's in trouble.
Pick them up, what are you gonna do for them?
Mayday, 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 whatever happened.
What are you gonna do for them? What could you do for them?
Yeah, we got you here. Yeah, there's a Delta flight at flight 350. What's your issue? Yeah, we're had an engine failure. We're located 10 miles out. Because you and other aircraft may pick up that trouble aircraft before ATC picks it up. So you can immediately talk to your ATC facility and say, hey, there's an aircraft over there, he had an engine failure, he's going down, because, they're going to send rescue. You want to help a fellow pilot, you don't want to let him,
No, I didn't think about it because your radio,
Yeah.
even on that.
Yeah, if I would hear that voice, and I would just stay in contact with him and try to identify a location and fly to that location and even try and find it, try to help. At least, you can guide the rescue. Because it takes some time to get the helicopter up there and then to find. Yeah, I mean, they may be cold, you never know where they're at. There may be difference between life and death. I mean, if you identify location and tell it to the
They could find Malaysian here.
so
Still looking for them, huh?
I think it's done in a liquid cruise.
I mean, imagine an airplane communicating with that Malaysian flight identifying the location and you know, you probably would have found them by that airplane. Mm-hmm. Now, this is the interesting question I like. It's regarding the aircraft. What is the minimum equipment and instruments required for a VFR day flight? Now, the best way to go with that is pretend like you're flying the airplane and you're looking at all these instruments. And you can tell what's required and what's not required. And that's also in your regulations. Six pack. Do we actually need a six pack?
We don't have a six pack.
Yo, so
Altimeter, absolutely. Altimeter is required. Why is altimeter required? If they say 5 feet below 5, or you know, you can't go more than 1,000 feet below. 1,000 feet below obstacles in any terrain or populated area, 2,000 feet distance. You know, you gotta know your altimeter. You gotta know where you are. Cruising altitude, you gotta know where you are. So altimeter is very important. What's another is airspeed indicator. That's a required instrument. What else is a required instrument? Gyroscope. What's that?
one is attitude.
That is bank, the banking, and the working, right?
For VFR? Gyroscope?
The thing with the, oh, you don't have the wings, you have the needle.
Turn and flip?
Turn and
Turn and
flip.
flip? Yeah, we have turn and flip. Is that a required instrument? For VFR, yeah.
What's the other thing with the vacuum? Vacuum. We've got altimeter, airspeed. Turn indicator?
Turn indicator? I don't know, you tell me. I'm looking for the reference that you put on your free solos, the actual number, so you can always refer to that. Oh, I think it's 213 or 205. I remember now, 205. 205.
So it's for the one that tells you how fast you have climbing and how fast you.
Vertical speed indicator? Is that a required instrument?
Yeah.
For VFR flight?
Oh, no. No more classes on that.
Why do you need to know how they're doing that? You're VFR, you're looking outside, seeing a voice. You don't need that. As a matter of fact, you don't even need it for IFR flight. The vertical speed. It's helpful, but
Oh, I know.
radio.
No, decometer,
For VFR flight, you need a radio? Where is that written?
no, it's not the
Not in the radio.
decometer, isn't it?
Oh, what did you say?
Decometer.
Tachometer. Why do we need a tachometer?
You know, if you're putting in power or not.
Power. We need to know what kind of power we have. We don't have a tachometer, we don't know if we have enough power. The more the RPM, the more power we have. Less RPM, less power we have. Yeah, I swear it was like 205 or 203.
Look at that compass.
Compass! All right. That's definitely required. Can't fly without a compass. Gotta know the direction. How you gonna fly without direction?
VFR, I can see, no?
You're still required to have a
It's not
compass.
required, no.
Must not have found
I
it.
asked you, you came back and took a GPS for you.
Yeah. Remember? That's right. What else?
Oil gauges?
Oil gauge. What on the oil? What do we need to know going on
Pressure.
there? Oil pressure. Excellent. Now you're going into the power plant. Oil pressure. Why do we need to know the oil pressure? Yeah, no oil pressure, that thing's gonna quit. Right? No oil pressure, no oil, it's gonna quit on that.
Manifold, you need that, or you don't have it?
It is true on certain airplanes, you need to have mouth pressure, because mouth pressure